Everybody, good morning. My name is Jeanne Pommeau. This is Mania Gregorian. We have today a presentation which is half online because our colleagues from Czech are actually in Prague now. So it will be at first Mania and me who will talk, and after that we will have Jonas, Kucharsky, and Matēj Strnad in Prague who will talk online. So we will call them now, and they are with us. Hello. Okay. Do you hear us?
Yes, hello. Good
Okay.
morning.
Perfect. And then if you want to switch, it's here. Hopla. And this is the presentation. Okay. Okay. And then we can start. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Do they see the presentation?
Mm-hmm.
Do they see them?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you see the presentation, Matthew and Jonas? Yeah.
No, they're not.
We actually see you. Hi, you. But we can see part of the screen behind you, so if you can't get the presentation up, don't worry, we'll at least see a little bit of the slides. Now we see ourselves.
Okay. So, we're good. Okay. If you want to make the big screen, you can make it here in the Vista. Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay. This presentation wants to highlight the work on sound and on comparison, and not only on cleaning and digital restoration of the image. That's why Mania will talk about work on comparison and reconstruction, and Jonas about sound. But first, it's maybe important to say, thank you, to say that we were to talk about which Extase we restore, because Extase, it's not one piece of work. It was initially shot into three languages: German, Czech, and French. And after that, each of these versions has a different fate, because it's a very controversial film, and not exactly because the main actress has an orgasm, or not exactly actually because she was naked in a lot of shots, but actually it was problematic for some states because the marriage was dysfunctional. And this was the part that was problematic, and that made the editing changing in some versions. And of course, so it means the censorship was in some states. Sometimes it was local censorship. Sometimes it was very local censorship. Cinema Theatre decided to skip, so to cut some parts, multiple variants. And we can also imagine that there were lost for frames of Hedy Lamarr, because in a lot of materials there were new splices and cut parts where she is naked running after the horse, or also. So this is a little bit like very shortly the situation, because we don't have time to explain all the different versions. It's very complicated, and also some things are unknown. And this, I'm talking just about this version, but there are also like a American release and stuff like that. It came later on. And so we concentrate in the Czech version. We wanted to restore the Czech original release, but unfortunately, the last trace of the original Czech film is the Czech release of 1958. Because in 1958, in Czechoslovakia, there were 60 years of Czechoslovakia film, and there were a lot of new release. And because of that, we have actually material of Czech Extase. This material is unfortunately in very poor quality. It was very, very rainy. It was a very generation very far away from the negative. And both in image and sound, it was very poor. The image quality, it lost a lot the scale of gray. And it was also a wrong aspect ratio. It means the original aspect ratio was 1 on 119. And in this version, we have a cut version on 1 on 137. So we lose image on the top and on the bottom of the image. So we have also missing shots and frames because most probably the projectionist took some images from this first material we have. This is just a view to all the credits we could have found. Not all, but most credits we can find in the Extase versions. So we have on the top left, you have the Extase title, which is the French title, which is actually the same than in the Czech version. So we were able to use it. We have the German first Austrian, because the release in Austrian was also like was not censored, and it was this is the title from the Austrian version. We have a title from the new release in Germany after the war. And after you have a Symphonie der Liebe. It is a version of 1935, because in Germany they banned the film till it got the prize in Venice in 1934. So in 1935 we have a new version edited in order to have a marriage a little bit less dysfunctional. And it is not called Extase anymore, it's called Symphonie der Liebe. And after that, you can see a Danish prologue. The main title did not survive in the Danish print from Danish Film Institute, but the beautiful print is preserved, and it has a prologue in Danish that, according to my translator, is very lyrical, I would say. And we have the title on the bottom. In the middle is the title from 58. So it's just to say it's just an idea of the variants we can find, just to tell you it is very different. But the main aspect, maybe the most important part, important things to know, is that for the Czech and the German version, there were the same main actors, but they were speaking differently in the dialogue sequences. So they spell Aribert Mox, the main actor, was spelling his part in Czech. He was dubbed, but he learned Czech in order to have it, because he's a German actor, he learned his part in Czech in order to spell it right, because it was important at this period to have it well done. And so we have in the German and in the Czech version, there are similar. There are actually the same shots for everything that is silent, and they are different for everything that has dialogue. And the French version, they use different actors, because Gaumont wanted to have Pierre Ney as main actor, for example, and Margherita was upset, but he had, if he wanted the distribution in France, he had to accept that. So it was shot also with French, the French version as French actors. To illustrate this, I have a short clip that is the three versions. You will see the Czech, the German, and the French version. The French version it's in 16. There is also a 35 existing. No, yeah, I think I have to, for the video, I have to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. There is a technical problem with the online.
Sorry, Jeanne.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the video.
And also the video, I don't know how to.
Oh, it's necessary the authorization for them. They They froze.
They're frozen.
Yeah. Là.
I'm not.
Okay. Do you see us?
Ah, it's better.
Okay. We're gonna do the sharing of the
Sorry.
screening. Case study here.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
They see that. And but we're gonna need your Google account if you want to show this video.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was free also, but no. Ah, yeah. Okay.
If you go,
No, sure. Yeah.
it's the
Yeah. I heard. Okay.
Don't worry.
Sorry. Maybe I can do it. Yeah.
Before that we played it.
But it was not the same video. It was another one.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Sorry.
It was the first one.
It means the other one is also to have the free. Sorry, but maybe we can
Or if you want
we
to
can
skip
deal
that
with
one.
that, and we can deal with that in the meantime. So, and maybe I can ask like.
As you prefer.
Yeah, but because it's a shame to not see it, but it's
If you have the other account, we can.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I can. Yeah. Sorry for that.
No.
This we
The
did
thing
not
is-
check actually. Yeah. Maybe it works on.
Sign to
it
another
works on
account.
No, it doesn't work on
On
mine.
your on your
No.
account? No, no, okay.
Okay, no,
Sorry.
no.
Sorry. Yeah. So, sorry for this. What I wanted to say also is that film with on this keyboard with the arrow base on this keyboard. Yeah, yeah. And so what I wanted to say also is that the film archive in Austria is making now the German version. So all the complicated versions issues are actually about the German version are actually now also checked by the. This is. Yeah, hopefully. So they have to deal with this version, these versions too, and they are making the reconstruction now. Mac.
Hop là.
Mac. Sorry. Is this making a... Yeah. This is stress. Okay, maybe we can... Maybe, yeah. Maybe, Jonas, can you...
If you want to see your person, because we took it off from the screen. If you prefer seeing it, to be sure that it's the right
play
one.
the video, you can just share the screen and they can play from.
Yeah, or maybe they can, unlock it from Prague, the video. À ce moment-là, ils mettront leur vidéo à ce moment-là. Ouais, okay.
Matēj, Jonas, do you have the video of the presentation that Jeanne wants to show?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We
Okay.
can. I can try sending you a link.
Thank
of
you.
it.
I don't know. You froze again, I think.
So maybe yeah.
I don't know where they froze.
So maybe what I want what I want to straight also is that the Czechoslovakia and the Czechoslovakian and the Austrian version were not censored at the beginning. They didn't, and even in the press release, it was not it was not shocking for the people. There were no situation of any of that kind that were in Italy. That this was totally banned in Italy, and even after Venice, it's and we didn't have at all this situation. That's why if we would have if we would have the elements of the first Czechoslovak version, it would be much easier. And what we needed is that we really wanted to have the aspect ratio of 1:19, because we checked that the composition is totally killed with the aspect ratio of 1:37. And of course, in the camera of Jan Starich, it was very well thought, and it was very crucial to have this original format. Hey. Maybe I can ask Jonas if we can put the video from your sides, please. And should I do something from here?
Well, we are sending you the link for the video from our side. It's going to be better, hopefully. Just a second.
I don't know if it's.
Oh.
Maybe we can skip it.
Yeah,
maybe we can skip it, and maybe it can be free later. Oh, should I just click on it? No. Maybe we can show it later on also.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Or
Yes.
if you play the video from your laptop and we just share your screen.
We can try, but
We
it's
skip-
probably...
Okay, it's the last chance, then we skip the video. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Thank
Let's try that. If you cannot open the link that we just sent,
No, we
then
cannot
we-
open the link. I don't think so.
Because we've changed the privacy setting for the link, so it should be playable.
Okay, maybe now it works. Okay.
Thanks. Yes. This online collaboration. COVID makes us able of doing these things.
Does it sound okay?
Wonderful.
Jedete do města? A mohl bych s vámi? Fahren Sie zur Stadt? Möchten Sie mich mitnehmen?
Dites-moi, allez-vous jusqu'à la ville? Pouvez-vous m'emmener?
So what you can also see that the shot on the husband that is in the car is the same actually in the three version. Everything that was not dialogued was the same in the versions. In the French version also, when it was the husband that is not talking at all.
We have to share the screen again.
Yeah. Thank you. there is another video, so I would be glad for another chat. There's another video later, Jonas and Matēj, if I can ask you to. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So these are all the. This is actually everything that is in gray is what we don't have. And so all the Czech Extase come from a duplicate negative that is actually I say re-edited, but it was actually the main title that was changed, and this is the release of 1958 in 137. So this is just schematically to show that everything is coming from this material, but actually I think there's much more generation in between the original negative and our duplicate negative, but all the print in all the material we know are coming from this duplicate negative. Even a print from the Slovak Film Institute is from this duplicate negative from the distribution in Czechoslovakia, but it was probably made a little bit before the dupe neg was actually older than 58 and was just used for that, but it was a duplicate negative from the 50s anyway, early 50s, because it's acetate, it's nitrate, but there is H code from the 50s. We have, fortunately, other sources. So there are the German-speaking sources. They are in much better condition than the Czech version material. They have the good aspect ratio, and they have it can be very useful for all the non-spoken shots where the takes are identical and when the aspect ratio is respected. I say 70% of the film, but it can be more. Actually, I didn't count. It's very silent aesthetic in this film, so a lot of shots are silent, unspoken, because it's very musical, as Jonas will say later on. So we have a Swiss print from the Cinémathèque Suisse, German post-Second War Extase from Film Museum München. We had a duplicate negative of the German version Symphonie der Liebe in rodni Filmovy Archiv. And also we have this Danish print from Danish Film Institute, which is a mix of Czech and German-speaking languages. When we don't know exactly why, because there are splices in the print, we can see that it's not this way from a former material, but it's made this way. It has Danish credits, as I said. It has also Danish inserts, as Mania will show to you later on. And this was very useful because it was also a beautiful print. So we were very lucky because thanks to this international collaboration, we had a possibility to use a lot of prints, and some of the people from the institution are here now too. So thank you. There is also French-speaking version from Gaumont collection that are in CNC, and as I said, the same shots were only where there is we don't see the main actors, and so it was really a few sequences that we had in other sources, so it was not useful almost at all. But fortunately, as I said at the beginning, the main title is survived in the French print, which is actually very good for us that had only the new titles for 58. And it's the same spelling in Czech and French, and we checked that it was in the documentation, we can see that it was a title that was used in the Czech version, so it was useful. We had to make the hierarchy of sources that were in this format, and so this is a hierarchy of sources according to the quality of the image and the generation. So this was we decided, for example, in between the Danish and the Swiss prints, to have a preference to the Danish print, but they had two different issues. Actually, the Danish print has a best dynamic of gray, but it was a less resolution, but So but we decided to make a priority on it. But both were very beautiful. Film Museum mentioned print has not as good generation than the other element, but we had some missing sequences that we thought were only on this print. Later on, we found there is another one in Film Archiv Austria. And after that, we had to fill the check sequences with a duplicate negative. And we, as I said, we have only this in another aspect ratio, and we will talk later what was the problem with that. But before, Mania will talk about the comparison and the reconstruction, because we wanted also to highlight the technical part of restoration.
Good morning, everyone. Before diving into the comparison of the Extase specifically, I just want to briefly introduce you what comparison and reconstruction is actually. It's not a new aspect for the archive world. They used to compare it, the elements that they received, but it was very difficult actually because they had the old moviola. They could compare just 2 elements at a time, and it was the analogical instrument didn't give the chance to compare in the details that we can do today. And thanks to this digital aspect of the technology, it gives us an instrument that is kind of essential in order to reconstruct a movie that has been through a lot. So once a film is chosen in order to be restored, as you know, a vast research is done, as Jeanne was saying, to figure out what has survived and what is useful. So they scrutinize based on the quality or the historical value or what it can contain, and it can be useful in order to take into consideration. In the best case scenario, you have the original camera negative that has survived, so you can directly scan that, and the rest of the elements are digitized, they're telecined into low-resolution files so you can easily manage them, because sometimes you have to deal with multiply elements, as you will see in the Extase. So you need to have like low-resolution, not heavy files. So why do we compare them? As you can imagine, all of these films have been through a lot. Some of them have not survived. They've been through censorship. They have been re-edited. They have had different editions. So what we need to have is to have a very broad view of what we have and what we need in order to complete the restoration. So as we compare them, we study also the non-filmic elements that can be very, very useful. They can be censorship documentations, it can be the reviews, the script, the dialogue list, that they can give us a clue about how the film was originally. After the comparison is done and we know what we have and what we're missing, the reconstruction is done. So basically during the reconstruction, you're going to answer all the questions that were raised during the comparison. And for the reconstruction, sometimes you have to make the decisions shot by shot, which was the case actually with Extase, because you have to take into consideration a lot of aspects. So for the comparison of the Extase, we compared 11 elements, and we had to compare and highlight the differences while keeping the original edit of the elements, each of them. Otherwise, we would get lost into the comparison. As Jeanne was saying, we knew that it was shot in 3 different languages, so it made it a little bit difficult because it meant that most of the shots were identical, were the same, except the shots that were talking in it. And at the same time, they looked really identical to each other. Maybe the shot was very long and they look exactly the same, or it would change only at the end when they were talking, so you would spot it right away. And it was not easy to identify all of them at the first sight. Then we had the difference of the editing, so some of the elements were completely re-edited, and it was different. We had to keep that intact while comparing all of them. I will share a slide of that too. We had also to deal with different inserts in the languages. So as I said, we had the difference of edit and the censorship. So it was, the comparison timeline looked like something like this at the very first step of the comparison. So you can see everything was the way it was in the original state of them. I don't know if you can see that, well, all the elements were color-coded, so it would be easy for us to identify which one we're dealing with. And in order to have an idea where were the differences, they were all marked with specific markers. So we wouldn't lose track of what was the difference. At this point, you can already see, for example, that actors are different. This shot was easy to identify that they were different because their actors were different. But, for example, this is an example of a different insert, which still is easy to identify. But in this one, there are two different shots, and it was not easy to identify. You can see now that the relationship between the actors are different, but it was a very long shot, and it took toward the end to identify that they were different. Also here, they're pretty much the same, but they're two different shots. So once the comparison was done, as you could see the slide before that, it was a pretty complicated timeline to deal with and to handle. So knowing that we had to take into the consideration various aspects of it, and one was the aspect ratio, which was playing a very key role in the selection of the elements. We decided that we are going to put the elements in a certain order. So we started to group the elements first based on the correct aspect ratio. So the first lines were the elements with 1:119 aspect ratio. And then we started to group them based on the edit. So we add that. So as you can see, the ones on more top levels, they are almost the same edit. They miss the same portion. So at this point, we had a much neater view, and we knew like how elements behaved, and it was more easier to read the timeline and have the idea of how to proceed with that. But by this time, what we needed to do is to identify. Well, we had done the test for the quality of the elements, and we knew that the German dupe negative, which was Symphonie der Liebe, was our first element as far as the quality was concerned. But as you can see, it's the light green one. You can see that it was completely re-edited. So what we needed to know was whether the shots that were present were complete according to our Czech version. So you can see here that there's another tiny track added to the main one that we had to resynchronize with the main version to see whether the shots were complete and if we could use them. But of course, we needed to complete the gaps, as you can see on the light red track. So what we needed to do, the next step after we made sure what we have at this point, was to do the reconstruction. And as I said, it was a shot-by-shot decision. We had to go through every shot, every single shot, take into consideration, are they talking? Do we need to keep the Czech version? Can we use the best element? Is it complete or not? So we went on doing that. So as you know, Extase is not a silent movie, so we had to deal with the audio too, which added to the complication of it. So every time we were dealing with this decision, we had to constantly go back and forth and check the audio, whether we could, how the audio was behaving at that certain point. But let's say once we made the decision for the image and we had the idea how the reconstruction of the image was done, we had to go back to the audio, to do work on the audio. So what we needed to do was re-import the elements that we had used with the original sync embedded in the movie, so we would know each portion how it was. Sometimes you can see there are markers on the audio track saying there's a different mix, or the dialogue is in a different language. So we would know that that portion might not be useful. And then, again, we had to synchronize the elements that we were supposed to use with the reference file. So sometimes you can see that the green one, the darker one, is some points are out of sync with its original state, but it's in sync with the reference point. Once that was done, we had to get rid of the things that we didn't need for the audio, the difference in the language maybe, or the portions that had a different mix of music. And we had to give our colleagues a map of what they needed to use and each portion, how it was supposed to be. And they would take care of the reconstruction of the audio. And then we had the reconstruction timeline, which was one element per shot, and then the restored audio. One quickly, so I will give time to Jonas and Matēj to talk about it. As I was preparing for this presentation, Jeanne asked me what was unique about the work on Extase. Well, the work on Extase was complicated because we were not dealing with the re-edition of one set of negative. They had actually shot in 3 languages, which meant that we had a set of shots that were identical, but some of them were different due to the language. We had the re-edition, we had the censorship, and to add to the complication of that, we had the audio. So as far as you're working on a silent movie, it's easy to handle, to move around things, to make it look like a puzzle. But when you have an audio, you have to take into consideration. So Extase was unique in those aspects. We had to take into consideration aspect ratio, completeness, quality, edition, and version. So that's for me.
Thank you very much, Mania. Just before we talk about the sound, just some restoration principles. Jonas and Matēj, I will need later on the video link, please. About the restoration principle, of course, we had a total impossibility to reach the original look and sound of the film because we had not the material that would exist. The difference in between the materials, the very beautiful quality of the Danish, Swiss, and the German duplicate of Narni Filmovy Archiv in one side, and the Czech sequences of Narni Filmovy Archiv in the other side, make it that we needed to harmonize these different materials. Jonas will talk about the sound problems, but for the image we had 3 main problems: the grading, the cleaning, and of course we had a decision to take about the aspect ratio differences. For the grading, we had no vintage prints, as you know, so no reference. So the grading was mainly the idea was to harmonize the sources in order to keep the continuity of the film and not having like totally one element very contrasted and the second one very soft. So we had to deal the grading according to that. For the cleaning, we are mostly in Narni Filmovy Archiv avoiding too much cleaning. We also avoid to clean. We don't want to when there is no material to be found. When the material is very too scratchy, as it was, for example, for the Czech sequences, it is not possible to recover the image. There is too much scratches. The image would be deleted but not recovered. So we had to deal the difference the way that all the beautiful materials we didn't over clean it in order to not have too huge contrast into the differences. And of course, as ever, we preserve the marks of the technologies of the time, so we are not deleting something that would be from the original process of the print or of the materials, even if there are differences, so which can be like a contradiction, of course, because like the different had different lives. But we kept all the splices, even the one in between the shots when there were missing some frames, never found in none of the elements we had. So this is the way we do it. And for the aspect ratio, of course, we had to make a decision. Either we could have put everything in 1:37 and just use the beautiful quality of the German-speaking sequences, and have an aspect ratio in 1:37. But this we didn't want because we really, as I said before, we thought it was very crucial for the aesthetic of the film to keep the original aspect ratio as much as possible. So we decided to switch for the Czech sequences to keep the 1:37. We could have zoomed them, but we would have lost twice the composition because we would have the loss of up and down, and we would have a new loss on the side. So it will be totally like impossible. And so we of course didn't want it to mutilate the image more than it was already. So the decision we took was to keep the difference of aspect ratio, and we let the film frame, original film frame, in the 37 because of the simulation of the gate. It was actually not that shocking as we thought it would be, because it's not taking that much space. And we decided not to put black lines, digital black lines, because it would be very shocking and disturbing. So we decided to keep it this way. And this is where I would like to put a video that I don't know where's the chat now to take the video.
Just try playing the video.
I don't.
If it doesn't, it's in the chat.
It's in the chat. Where's the chat?
But if you open the next slide, the presentation, the video should play.
Where's the chat? Yeah. Charlotte?
Just try clicking the video.
I don't find the chat. Yeah, it's just like
Let's try clicking the video.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I can just yeah, but here we cannot see. This is the other frame. Sorry.
Tedy dnes večer.
This is my car.
Ale do Nusa nepojedeme společně.
Okay.
Kvůli lidem.
So I don't know if you saw well the difference of frames, and also that we kept that there were some drops of drying of the laboratory at the end that was kept, and that the cleaning was not over cleaned. Yes, and now I finished my part, and I will let Jonas talk. I go back there.
Thanks. Just a brief question. How much time do we have left? Do I know how long can I speak?
15 minutes. Sorry.
15 minutes with the question. Oh, okay, I'll just start. So I'm going to try to be brief. Many of the issues that were already talked about by Jeanne and Mania concerning the restoration of picture and the comparison applied also to the sound process, or the process of sound reconstruction. Just as an intro, I want to stress that one of the reasons why Extase was such a complicated project in terms of sound reconstruction is not only the version issue, but also the optical sound issue by itself, because Extase was done in the so-called Tobis Klang system, which is a early 30s or this type of Tobis Klang is early 30s sound system developed in Germany, and it has its own perks, but in theory, it's a variable density type of optical sound, which usually means that it's very good for sound reproduction or recording if you are really close to the original, because changes in contrast affect greatly the sound quality and the signal to noise ratio. So speaking broadly, whenever you copy the material, the noise levels just grow. So that was one of the issues we had to take into the consideration. Another thing is that the films in 1930s played in a different frequency spectrum than we are used to today. There is a little green screen on your bottom right, which is a probable frequency spectrum or frequency response of the Toby's Clang systems. To put it really bluntly, the films didn't play so high and so low as today films, so we can count with a frequency around 110 hertz up to 5 to 6 kilohertz, which is much smaller space in the frequency spectrum than we are used today. Next slide, please. With Extase in particular, we had to deal with the quality of the materials, which was really the same process as with the picture. The quality was one of the issues. The other issue was the version of the film, as is the same in the picture as well. I'm not sure if it was just enough, so I will just say again that the language versions didn't only mean that it was overdubbed, but the key scenes were shot twice or 3 times, and that means that the sound was recorded also 2 to 3 times, because in 30s the audio technology didn't really allow for mixing boards to exist or any technology like that, so all the sounds had to be re-recorded, which meant that in the comparison we didn't have to care only about the languages, but also different versions of the, let's say, mix, even though it's not mix, but the way the orchestra plays, and which complicated this process even more, because when you look at the film, you might think that it's like the language it speaks sonically is almost it almost belongs to a silent film era. There's loads of music, and the dialogues work as a sort of a sonic intertitles, but the dialogues are not the only thing that's different in the versions. The music is also sometimes different. So in terms of hierarchy of the sources, the list you see, the slide tells you that the priority sources were the Czech negative or duplicate negative and the German, meaning the Czech version and German version duplicate negatives preserved in Národní filmový archiv, and then the Munich print and the Dutch print both served for inserts of the scenes that were lost in the Czech material or in the materials that are preserved here, and the Dutch print also served as a source material. Danish, that is Dutch. Sorry, for some reason there is a mistake. Anyhow, so next, just a brief note that with switching from different materials, we needed to harmonize the elements as much as possible, even though that we didn't want to clean the sound itself. I'll show you that a bit later. Next slide, please. This is going to be a quick slide. This is just a screenshot of the timeline in the audio reconstruction department. As you can see, there are many, the black lines you see on the screens are the moments where there were missing frames or more frames in the sound. So as you can see, many times we had to switch back and forth different materials, which is not ideal, but that's how the materials were preserved. And next slide, please. This is going to be a short video of the opening title, which serves to show how different the audio can be in the versions. The reason why I'm showing you that is that you will see three different versions. First is the Czech print, then is the Munich print, then is the Danish print, and then is a sort of version. And none of the three versions you're going to see have the sonic title, the music that plays under the first title of the film complete. And just by reconstruction and comparison, we were able to reconstruct the whole sonic intertitle. If it's not playing, it's also in the text.
We don't hear it, but if it's playing, then it's great.
Yeah, it's playing.
So I'm not sure, we didn't hear the whole video finish?
I have 5 minutes, I'm sorry.
But I cannot put the slides.
Yeah. So I've already talked a bit about source selection, so I need to be really quick. Our general approach to sound restoration corresponds with our general approach towards picture reconstruction or restoration. So we are trying to stick to the quality of the materials and the materials as much as possible, which means that in such projects as Extase, we don't want to apply any denoising or any other tools like this, because we believe that they create more digital artifact than they actually solve the noise issues. So whenever we needed to harmonize the elements, we went with gentle EQ or filtering or simple fades, but our approach was not to let's say overclean the audio or even think of the audio in terms of cleaning or not cleaning. We were just trying to put the elements in right order, find the right inserts, and to deal with also the spectral definition of the Tobisklang system, which especially for this film worked very well, because some of the sound issues that we found in different materials were usually below 100 hertz, so that means really bass sounds. And if we didn't set the EQ curve according to the standards of 1930s, the bass sounds or the bass noises would be very hearable, whereas when we actually play it as it was meant to be played, many of the issues disappear themselves. In terms of splices, we tend to think of splicing in theory that we are trying to figure out if the slice is reprinted from like the original material or where in the generational line did it happen, which is really complicated and not really scientific, the method, but by comparing different versions of the materials, we were able to find splices that were introduced into the material much later. In terms of synchronization of this film was really a hard or a complicated topic. It could eat up a whole talk, but I just want to show you one short clip, which is like 50 seconds, that will show you that in some cases the audio was better preserved than the picture, so we decided to insert black frames between the pictures, just in order to preserve the fluidity or like the flow of the soundtrack, because we believed that it would be much more disturbing to actually cut the audio and have like audio jumps, whereas in the picture we could insert a couple of black frames and the audio gives the whole thing just a sense of continuity. And this is going to be all for me. Thank you.
We have seen the part. We have seen the part where there is black frames. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for bearing with us. We are like semi-frozen here, and we are just about to finish. So really, thanks for bearing with the difficulties. Thanks to Jeanne, Mania, and Jonas for their presentations. I'm just going to leave the slide there, as there are many partners we also wanted to thank, because as you saw and heard about the sources and the versions, we are really grateful for all our partners from FIAF and also beyond FIAF for the close and dear collaboration on this project. I like to say that in the similar manner as Extase was originally a very international production, so also its restoration was a international effort, and personally, and we all are really grateful for all the archives who have participated. So thank you. And Jeanne is staying in Bologna for any questions, or you can approach us also by email. So thank you for having us, and thank you for bearing with the difficulties. That's all from our side. Take care. And enjoy
Is there possibility for a sound question to use that, Jonas? Not at all. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so sorry. Thank you very much, Jonas and Matēj, for having been with us. Sorry for the technical issues that make the time shorter. And thank you for having been here. We can discuss, make a question outside if you want, because we need to change. We were very long, even if we wanted to be short. So feel free to come to me to any question you would have. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, it's technical person. It took 10 minutes. 10 minutes but en fait, je sais pas, parce qu'en fait, comme on le faisait toujours avec mon ordi et celui de Mania.
Mais en plus, on a essayé les deux vidéos, mais c'était les deux vidéos YouTube. Donc juste,
moi j'ai fait
on n'a pas essayé la première qui était celle de justement.
Eh oui, il y en avait deux.